This is the Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Sethi.
And
Stylist Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we?
All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in to Elevated Grapes. I am your host, Sethi.
I'm Stylist Rashi Bindra.
And we got a great show for you today because we got a really cool special guest that's not usually on the mic with us. That's Rashi's intro. She just laughs. Who's our guest?
I was going to say.
That's our guest. Our guest today is Rashi's laugh.
I mean, I am always laughing, but I'm gonna let your host Sethi, introduce him because they are business partners, they're best friends, they have a very special relationship, and it's a little scary sometimes. But I'll just let it go there. So, boys, come on in, or introduce yourselves, whichever way you want to say.
There's only one other boy that needs to be introduced. So we have Pat with us today, and Pat is my partner on the freshly diced side of our business and does a lot of amazing stuff for Elevated Grapes. Our cat's walking by. We got
over there.
We got a cat in the podcast.
Billy, come here.
And so he's been kind enough to join us on the mic in front of the camera this time. And so we're glad to have him here. Pat, what's going on, man?
I don't want to be here.
That's a good way to start.
Amazing. I'm sure
you're more than welcome to just sit there and mess around with Billy over there.
And that's all, folks. Thank you for joining in.
Good podcast. Good show.
So that is him kidding. For those who do not know his personality or do not know, he is actually the man behind all the music production. When we say the word freshly diced, when we talk about freshly diced, we are talking about Pat and obviously Stylist Rashi, of course. But I do give a lot of credit to Pat here, Pat Rock as he's known. I'm so happy that he's with us tonight.
Pleasure being here. Thank you. Pleasure.
So today's show, what we're going to actually do is we're going to dissect the TO Corp show. And if you've seen some of our footage, on YouTube we have the aftermath or the showcasing of that show. So today we're going to break down how it took place, what happened, the challenges, the successes, all the inner things throughout the show that made the show what it is.
Let's first tell them what TO Corp is.
Absolutely.
So go for
ahead.
It.
It's your show. You got to talk about it.
So TO Corp is essentially Toronto corporate fashion show. It's something that I started off with a partner last year, and that's actually how I met Solder. One of our friends introduced us and was talking about having someone, MC and DJ one of my events, and that's how Solder came about, and that's how we started our partnership.
That's when I was born.
Let's not go there.
That's how I came about.
Well, I meant like about in terms of like me and you. And how Elevated Grapes also eventually was born out of that.
Exactly, it's the birth.
Oh dear God, the birth. And then that's how I got to know Pat as well. And I found out that these guys actually produce music, which for me, and a lot of people don't know that, I'm also an event planner and I specialize in fashion events. So it's actually really cool that I got to meet people who specialize in music fashion production. So it was really great. And before I get into what I think goes into an event, let's talk about Pat and Sagar and what they felt when I'm telling them what I want and how that goes. So yeah.
So the reason that we also thought this was relevant as a topic for the show is because it is a fashion-based event. It's an industry event in the city of Toronto, and from an industry standpoint, we wanted to share what goes on behind the scenes in a show. When you see a fashion show or an event like that, and what actually is involved in putting something like that together. So we thought it is an important topic given the type of discussions that we have and that we want to have some industry talk as well.
So music is a huge component alongside, things like food, like alcohol, like models, like the type of designers that you choose, PR, marketing, all those things.
What the heck are you doing?
What are you doing, man?
I'm trying comfortable.
Just sit.
Pat's literally been doing gymnastics the whole
the
time.
entire time.
Yeah.
And I'm
just doing
like,
a
trying to
handstand.
be like, okay, so I've been staring at a poster the entire time and talking.
And it says attitude. It's so fitting for you.
Priceless.
So that's exactly what like I've been doing. And by the way, for those who don't know, it is Canadian Thanksgiving today, and I've spent with the entire crew of people that I work with. That's exactly what I've been doing. I call them my family too. And I just see Sadr like giving me this like look, like shut up. I'm mad at you for like being late.
So back to the show.
There you go. So I've been staring at this poster, trying to like talk, and Pat's been like jumping around. Just sit. Let's chat.
I'm trying. I'm honestly trying. I swear to God.
So I think let's sort of start from, we'll do it in segments. Let's start way before the show even happened, and sort of touch on like you mentioned. So you and Pat had a couple of conversations about the designers. So there was 5 designers that we had
We had 7 designers.
on the night of.
Yeah, we had 5 clothing, 2
Right. Yeah. So, but there was 5 actual shows, right?
Sure.
Yeah, five runways, I guess you want to call it. And so you and Pat sat down and chatted about the music. So let's talk about that and how that conversation went, because Pat's very particular when he wants to work on a project. He gets very involved with it. So he wants to make sure he totally understands it so that he can produce and put together the best product based on what the show and the vibe and all that kind of stuff is about. So let's talk a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes when putting the thoughts together behind the show for the designers.
So I'm gonna let Pat talk about that before I give my 2 cents.
It's kind of hard. I think you should be the one to start it off because you're working so closely with these designers, what they're offering and what they're bringing to the table, and having so much involvement with them, hands-on with the fittings and the styling of it all. I think your knowledge on what you perceive it to be the outcome plays the bigger role. And I think with her having the knowledge of all that coming together and having her outlay, like sending me that email alone, like I had asked her, I'm like, can I please get the names of the designers, a little background on them, their Instagram profiles, what's the style, and like pinpoints, because I don't want sentences or a story, just give me pinpoints. Like it's eccentric, it's stylish, it's classy, it's 90s. Boom. Right. It's already there. I already understand. And the great thing about Rashi is that when she puts everything in detailed form in the email, I love it because it dives you deeper into understanding what the designer wants. Right. And with the name like To Your Corp Show, you're thinking about elements of what makes corporate lifestyle fun. People work their asses off. They have great income for some reason. Right. And they know how to spend it. So when you think about that, you think about the fashion, you think about some of the females, think about some of the males, and you think about the way they're dressed maybe on a Thursday night in today's day and era. Yeah. And you think about what are they going to do? What are they going to dive into? What's the color? What's the mood? What's the weather? How's this all going to play together for a beautiful night out? And that's what we kind of like get lost in. I remember being on the phone with Rashi and we're just talking and we're just like, I'm like, why don't we like stick to like an 80s theme with the music?
Yeah, the power suits, like the...
Yeah, and like...
You think about money being made, you think about Wall Street.
And I loved it, right? I actually loved it because the one thing that's amazing about Pat is that he is someone who will send me Instagram like stories or post about what is trending right now, what's in fashion. And when I tell him what I feel or what I have researched that is on trend, he'd be like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So we both end up having the same mindset. And then when I told him this year, this is what we're doing for To Your Corp, this is the way I'm feeling it, he's like, okay, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling like this sort of retro vibe. I'm gonna get back to you. This is how we should like market it and all of that. And I actually get that from him, right? And as someone who's producing a show and has so many different elements to deal with, having someone who understands the way the music should work is such a huge relief. And I think this is what both of them have kind of realized when we started working with each other, even last year. Like I think Pat, like from last year when the first time that we did To Your Corp compared to now, there's a huge difference.
Big time difference.
Right? So why don't you kind of let them know a bit of a backstory about how we all got involved with each other, how you and I understand the way we work, and that's such a big component in the creative and business industry of what we do.
Of fashion.
Of fashion and in this point a bit of music, but I would say primarily the fashion industry when we started working last year as opposed to this year.
Well, last year everything came out of nowhere because I wasn't in the city.
Oh, that's right.
I was like I was on the west end coast of Canada.
Yeah.
So when Sagar reached out to me and told me about what's happening, I said, okay, cool, no problem. And then talking to Rashi more about it.
And we'd not met and we'd not known each other as well.
Correct.
And we met in December for the first time before we had to go fly out.
Correct.
And then the hard part about this was you don't know the venue too well. You don't know which designers you're working with. We were just told like there's a corporate fashion show taking place and we just want to make it sexy, moody, deep, and yeah, like that's all I had in my head.
Yeah,
and I think
a little bit of designer information.
Very, very subtle. Like, who? What? Huh? And I remember just being very clueless. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, extremely clueless, and being so far away from the energy that the city brings and that environment. I'm in the middle of a valley making deep house, sexy, moody, aggressive music for a runway when I'm walking outside and there's like an old man spitting like nicotine out of his head. Like,
the two just don't match.
Like, sorry, tobacco out of his like mouth. I'm just like, huh. So that's where it became fun to like just find yourself in a place where how can you make this music alive? And I remember sending Sagar all of them and like, what do you think and which ones? Because I'm like, I don't know which one.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't we this one, that one, I'm like, okay, done. Boom, 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 done. We sent it over to Rashi. I'm like, Rashi, what do you think? Like I'm like, I need your help now because you know the designers best which songs work for their clothing and the characters that you want the clothing to bring out. And next thing you know, they sent me the clips and everything back because they were like doing the Instagram stuff, sending it to me. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is awesome. This is awesome. And that's how it started.
So Rashi, from your perspective now, you heard Pat's version of that experience. From you not knowing his capability, I mean, I had full faith because I know what he can do, but you not knowing anything about him, what he can come together with, his capability, and obviously this is a close project for you because it's one that's actually yours from beginning to end. It's not something that you're hired for to go in and do a part of the show. You're actually doing this from beginning to end. It's your show. It's your baby. How did that make you feel, you know, just from the standpoint of working with someone that you haven't worked with before and giving them such a huge dependence or such a huge, like relying on them on such a great manner for such an important part of your show?
So a couple of things to that, right? Like you said, it's my baby, it's my show, it's my heart and soul. I'm working with it with on one person, and I think for me the biggest trust factor was as I was hearing the music, and a lot of that trust factor also had to do with you coming on board, because that time you and I did not know each other well either. I had heard your name in the industry,
sure,
not necessarily in a hosting and a DJing point of view, but I'd heard who you were,
sure,
and you know, I did some of my own background research on the type of work you do and where you DJ and where you host and stuff like that. So when you were telling me that you have a partner and this is what he does and stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. This is where we're at. And I remember Pat sending me, you know, his playlist on what he thought would work for the event. And I was listening to it. I rearranged how some music would work for certain designers.
Sure. But
I was also very, very particular in terms of like the swearing or like the certain lyrics that at that point I think was there, which we did end up changing, of course.
There was that one record, remember? The one I used for my other show. Now I use it for another show intro. I put you on a poster.
I remember that one.
And here's the thing though, as much as I love the sound and knowing me as I have no filter whatsoever.
No.
None.
No filter? Come on.
But for that event, I did not necessarily have for a corporate event, I did not have swearing because my partner would kill me because she was already having enough heart attacks that night.
So let's fast forward now back to this year. Now the music part of the show.
Yeah.
Now from an organizational standpoint on this show, at a high level, what were some of the things that you wish had gone differently before? Like we're not at the show yet. This is pre-show. You're going through all the planning things.
I mean, so just again a bit of background. For this year, we got American Express to be our sales partnership. As an event planner and as someone who's very hands-on with literally every single detail, for me in terms of growth, if you've heard some of our podcasts, a big factor that we talk about is growth in the field that you're in. One of them was being to be able to delegate what you do. So in terms of PR and marketing, I delegated that to my partner, which is why we are a two-person, team in this, not just us, like me solo or the
or her solo,
yeah, whatever. And that being said, one of the things, if I could change, was how we communicated with our sales partnerships and any of our partnerships, whether it was you guys or Pat or like even the venue and things like that. I think if I could change a bit of the communication, it would have made a big difference that night itself.
In what way?
I mean, I'm someone who is such a perfectionist when it comes to whatever I put my name on, that even the slightest
I couldn't tell that.
Okay, you're just now being sarcastic. Give them some context on that, because they're just like going like, what the hell? I am such a...
Looking at your product, I couldn't tell you're a perfectionist.
Oh, really? I'm not? Mm-hmm.
Let's continue.
Okay, there you go. So that night, because our entrance was a bit messy due to some details that we did not foresee happening, for me, that was a huge deal. And I remember these guys being like, Rashi, but everything else was great about the event, except for that one, 30 minutes or 45 minutes of the night. But for me, even that 30 minutes was a big component, was a big deal.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to create an experience from beginning to end for your consumer.
But that's also like who I am, right? And that's also why my events are different and a lot more niche than general events that like happen within the city or any city that I've ever done events at,
mm-hmm.
right? And you both know that, because anytime there's an event involved, it is, I try and get music from you guys, I try and get hosting and DJing from you guys, because we are a team at the end of the day, we are family at the end of the day. So even when Pat and I were when we were going back in terms of what we wanted for the music, Pat was like, okay, so I'm thinking more of this vibe and that vibe, and this is what we're gonna do. And I'm like, okay, let me hear it, but I also trust you, and that trust is built over time, right? Over saying like, this is what I understand of who you are and what you want to achieve. This is what I want to achieve, and now how we merge those two worlds together. And that's a huge component of being an event planner, is being able to not only delegate what you want, but being able to trust your team in delivering the best.
Sure, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So you touched on it a little bit, and let's dissect that maybe further. At the beginning of the show, the way it started from an experience standpoint for the consumer, there was some hiccups, right? And we got to be honest with ourselves about things, even as a team, that we could do better. No matter whose show it is, we're all there, we're all represented. So we want to make sure that everything goes well from beginning to end. So what were some of those hiccups that you found, and what potentially do you think could have been done to not have those happen?
I mean, I know I dealt with that after the event, and if those of you who not have an idea of my personality after hearing our podcast, you guys know I do not take shit, no matter who the person is.
Correct.
And I stand up for what I believe in, and I stand up if I don't think I'm wrong, right? So I'm not gonna name the designer, because there's actually really no need to. It's not about a it's not.
No, we're talking about the challenges. We're not here to call anybody out. We're talking
Exactly.
about challenges.
So one of the challenges was one of the designers decides it's okay to give his clothes at 6 p.m. or allow us.
And what time was the show starting?
At 6 p.m. when the doors open at 6:30 and the fashion show starts at like 8 o'clock. Totally not acceptable. And
Now, but as a planner, you're dealt, these are the cards you're dealt. So now you have to manage through that.
so here's the thing. I originally was, let me send a volunteer or an intern or whoever we had helping us to, pick up the clothes, and my partner should be here at the door greeting these guests. My partner, as much as I love her, because she always wants to make sure that none of
She's hands-on as well.
and she's very hands-on, and she and her intentions come from a place of like, I do not want your relationship to be ruined with the people you worked so hard to build those relationships with. She was just like, I'm gonna go myself. That caused a huge delay because I did what everybody, including these guys, have always told me to, is delegate, trust, whatever. And I'm like, I have no fucking clue what this guest list is about. I have no clue how she wants to have the end.
So sorry, you backed it up because I think we missed that piece there. So she was in charge of.
Oh yeah, exactly. Sorry. So because her being in PR, she was in charge of having people come in, seating them, directing them to whatever VIP lounge that we had. My role until the fashion show happened was fashion show, make
Models.
sure, like it was fashion show, models, designers, food, making sure the bar knew what they were doing.
And she was taking care of logistics.
She was taking care of PR and marketing at that point because I had a relationship with the venue, so whether I wanted to or not, I had to do.
No, what I mean by logistics is, where do guests go? Where's the VIP lounge? Where are people supposed to sit?
Exactly. Telling you guys what to do, when to start the what. Everything was all her. Mine was get the models ready, get the show going on, and then after that, obviously, come on stage and stuff like that. And that did not happen.
Right. So that affects. So there's a cause and effect that's happened, and the reason again we're going into this is because for those that are listening and from a fashion industry standpoint, there's so many moving parts that occur in these type of environments, and it's how you manage through them to make it look as if nothing's going on in the background and things are the way they're supposed to be. So these hiccups did cause a bit of a challenge for some of the guest standpoint.
It did. Thankfully, I know you were one of the people on my team who jumped in when I said, here, please just make sure that people are checked in, they're comfortable, they know what's going on, and I just gave you a rundown of what's going on. I myself started checking people in, and we had Pat who was playing music, just creating the vibe, and just making sure that people started to feel comfortable, they wanted to buy a drink, they wanted to feel that they were part of something. It was very challenging, and I don't think a lot of people realized how overwhelmed I got and how stressed that I got, because in my mind, and I think that's any event planner's mind, is that when you've delegated or when you're thinking that you have a person or you have someone that you trust to help you with something and they're not there, or that letdown is happening to you, even if you have to react and not show your emotion to that reaction, it is difficult. And it's not that it's again, what people have to realize when you plan events, when you plan anything and you are let down, it's not about you being weak as a person. It's at that moment, it's again how you function. You are handling it, you are creating it, you are backtracking and going to plan B, which sometimes you don't really have because you thought you've covered everything, right?
Well, the other problem that you guys also had that day in that beginning portion where some of the hiccups happened was some of the folks that you had set up that were supposed to be delegated to volunteers didn't show up. So then you were quote unquote short-staffed. We
were very short-staffed that night. It's not something I'm proud of to be like, oh, we were short-staffed.
No, but I mean, but the reason we're showcasing this is, again, these are a lot of the moving parts. If you're trying to put an event together, that can happen.
But, okay, so these are things that do happen during events. It's not about budget. It's not about, you're not a high-level event planner. it is a reality. Even if you're paying someone, they can call in sick. They can be like, oh, sorry, there's an accident on the 401. I'm going to be 2 hours late.
Exactly.
That is life, right? That is life. This is what you have to deal with. These are your cards.
Well, that was also part of the delay when she had to go pick up the clothes from the designer who delayed. I mean, she got late because there was traffic coming back, and that also delayed everything a little bit and caused
that delayed a lot of things.
And not something you guys can control.
No, we can't. And as much as I understood what is to happen, because again, being an event planner, I did make sure I knew what was supposed to happen. But there were certain things that, again, when you work with women as a partner and you work with men as partners, it's two very different things. It's not about equality. It's not about being assertive. Women in general think and react differently. Men in general think and react differently, right? So if I'm gonna work with a female partner whose reaction to things are very different than a guy reacting to things, it's not about equality rights, it's not about any of that stuff. It's actually really not. It's just about basic human genetics. You have to understand what you're working with. So at that night, my partner for this show is a female, a lot more emotional than men are, just because of biology. That's a fact, right? So now how do I, seeing that, understanding that, recognizing that, how do I deal with that and make sure that my event is not?
Are you asking me or?
No, I'm saying just to make sure that my event is not a flop. And you being part of it, you stepped in when I told you. Yeah, help me.
So let's jump into so Pat, you're seeing, you're in the environment.
You were there. You saw everything.
You're in the environment. There's a bit of chaos going on. Things are a little bit settling. We're going to get your take on it in a second because we're just going to take a quick break, but we're going to get your take on how you manage through that, being in charge of the music and the vibe in the moment. So we're going to take a quick break and come back to Pat's thoughts.
Hey guys, we're taking a quick break just to remind you where you can find our podcast online.
You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Tunes.
Apple Music, but you call it Apple Tunes.
Whatever.
Right. You can also find us on TuneIn, on Google Play, and of course Instagram when we do it the first Tuesday of every month.
And Facebook here and there.
Here and there.
Here and there.
So thanks for tuning in, and now back to our podcast.
All right, so we're back. So
Peacetime.
We were talking about Pat's just battling through the break. So we were talking about, so now we're in an environment where there's a little bit of chaos. Things are getting settled slowly, but now the ambiance and the vibe is super important because as people are a little bit restless, as things are being sorted, you have to create a comfortable environment for them. And a lot of that is the music. Now, Pat has to choose a balance between creating an ambiance that's going to keep people calm and also keeping music in line with the vibe of the show and the direction that he's taking the show in musically. So what was your thoughts in that moment of what to do with the show when you saw people sort of not sure where to go and the seating arrangements are being taken care of and people are being directed to the VIP lounge and there's people at the bar and there's people in where they're not supposed to be sitting and all that's being sorted and then you're sitting here, okay, well there's a lot of things happening, but I still got to create the vibe so that people are still enjoying the experience.
Well,
what's going on in your head?
The great thing about being in that situation is that you're seeing everything unfold in front of you. You know what
firsthand, you're seeing it live,
right? You know where everyone is. You know what everyone is doing,
and you're getting the feedback saying, "Hey, we're a bit delayed because of this. This is also happening." So you know what's happening in the background too.
Definitely, and you're also seeing the staff working, coming together. You're seeing the bar people. You're seeing, the front, everything you're seeing and taking notice of. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to music itself, you can't just hit them with what you really want to play.
Right. You gotta watch what's going on around you.
That's the hard part. There's people lining up for drinks. It's getting crowded now. Things are being sorted. There's people going back and forth, and that's when Sagar was running back and forth and aligning people and coordinating a lot of things. And Rashi is still downstairs with getting all the pieces styled and put together.
Yeah.
And I saw Fatima going back and forth a little bit, this and that. And then you're looking at the Thompson crowd and the Thompson workers getting things aligned and coordinated. And then at one point, I did notice a little bit of confusion in the people.
Yeah.
So I come to think that, okay, Sagar's going to come. And it's funny because I thought about it and boom, he's there with the mic. It's natural flow because we're used to it, right? Like we know how events work. And when he got on the mic, right away, just eye contact. Boom, music's down. Sagar starts talking. We have to adjust the mic a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, just working with the equipment that we had. We just have to make it work. That was it. There was no like, no. It's just, let's make it work. Let's make it work.
Absolutely.
So he's maintaining the crowd. He's being very highly professional, very corporate driven at the same time. And then from there, the music, the way he would say, you know, the music provided tonight is by blah, blah, blah. Letting people know that there is music.
By blah, 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 you mean Pat Rock.
Yeah.
By blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
That's your new name. Change your Instagram handle. Blah, blah, at blah, blah, blah.
DJ, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's where he ignited the factor of music, that the music is being curated. Like this is someone handling tonight's, you know, atmosphere for you.
Yeah.
And then every time he would finish talking the mic, because he talked more on the mic more just to get people informed, because there was a lot of direction.
Yes, there's a few things that we had to make sure they knew.
VIP seating, a lot of space for the ballerina that was performing, you know, all these things that were happening. And every time
there was a bunch of media there, we had to make sure they knew where to stand.
Yeah, and like and I remember like photographers come out, hey, can I set up here? Where can I go set up here? Where can I hook up here? Where's output? Where's this, that? I'm like, yeah, 1 second. And then I had the most people come out to like, where's Sagar? I'm like, I don't know.
And like, see, and the thing for me is that when I told Sagar, okay, this is the situation, please step up and handle it, because and I have full faith in him. One, because he's corporate, a lot more corporate than I am. Two, he knows how to, you know, kind of like settle the crowd, which is something I think, Pat, you and I both agree on, that Sagar's extremely good at kind of judging and knowing what to say when, and sort of, and his voice alone calms like a lot of people. Like we had a lot of people like coming up to me after the event and talking about Sagar and like who he was and blah 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 and all that stuff.
And it's also his personality too, right?
His personality, right? Like I've always said since the beginning of Elevated Grapes, his charm and personality kind of wins people over. Like I think
it's my slippers that I wear.
I do think that if we were, I always say, if we were at a bar and if we had a contest on who did the most phone numbers, Sagar would win hands down.
Nah, I don't know about all that.
Definitely he would.
Yeah, see, there you go.
That's definitely Pat.
There you go.
No, that's impossible.
I've seen Pat work through them.
But moving on to that structure after maintaining. Oh, sorry, you okay? Sorry.
No, but no, sorry. Go on.
Because I was talking, and she's like, so it's my time to talk.
Yeah, so I'm Rashi, and you are a fly on the wall.
I'm not even a fly on the wall. What am I just
Sorry, a fly on the couch.
Not on the couch either. You are not a fly. Period. You're not a fly. Period.
Much better.
So this is Patrick now.
Yeah. So Pat, go on.
No, I'm just saying that every time Sagar had the chance to level the crowd and keep repeating himself, like people think that's, oh, he's just repeating himself. No, you're not repeating yourself, because you're talking in such a different way and manner. The way you have to present your voice, it has to extend itself into the entire majority of the room where people are listening to what this person is saying. And the great thing that he did, and I did mention it to him, is that you didn't only make the room comfortable, but you made everyone feel one and part of the show.
Exactly.
Like you're here because you guys are making this happen for us. This is for you. This is not for us. We're giving you something that just something, right? And that's what he did. He brought everyone in comfortable, and every time he would finish talking, he'd be like, Pat Rock with the music, and I'll always change the music.
Absolutely, yeah. You were ready. You were 100%. I was just going to mention that
because the vibe kept changing. Because in the beginning we started really smooth.
Yes.
Maybe like
and as the vibe picked up and there's more people and there's a little more noise and
we're like, okay, louder. Okay, now we're gonna go in. Okay, now let's go with some of the playlist music that we had released.
Yes.
That started. We're like, okay.
So a quick point, yeah. Like so Pat had put together a Spotify playlist specifically for this show to set the mood ahead of time that we distributed out, so people knew what kind of mood the music was going to be about.
To your Corp show, and we'll have the link as well.
Yeah, for the Spotify, so you can access that.
Go on Spotify and find it.
That was like maybe an hour.
It's still there, right?
No, it's still there. And that was maybe about half an hour before we started.
Correct.
Okay, we were delayed a bit. I mean, about like 15 minutes, which is fine.
We were only and
at the end, yeah.
Was it about 15 minutes?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So honestly,
And we shaved it down.
Yeah.
honestly, as an event planner, as a fashion show planner, to have a fashion show that is delayed by 15 minutes is actually standard by the industry. If it was longer than 15 minutes, then that is a problem. But till today,
Nav, can you do a quick Google check on
Yes, you can.
on
Yes,
event
you can.
planning and delays if the standard is 15 minutes?
yes, you can, because if you go to New York, if
Just
you
call
go to Paris, if you go to Milan, they are delayed by half an hour. They are delayed
Nav,
by
can you call
45
Milan,
minutes.
please?
So my point is
Nav is on the
that
phone behind the camera and he's calling Milan.
go for it, Nav. But and you will know that like I'm right. But my point is to be delayed by only 15 minutes for a fashion show, given the hiccups that we had.
Of course. Oh, yeah.
As an event planner, that's still a huge win. As an event planner, to trust your team, to say, hey, Sauder, you know what? This is happening. Start assessing the crowd. Start making them feel part of the event versus just attending the event. That means you have some people that are on your team that kind of see your vision. And I got very blessed that when I met Pat and when I met Sauder for this, they kind of understood it. And the entire year that we've been working, like what, a year now?
It's been almost, yeah. Well,
Almost
Tio Corp
a
was a
year.
year.
It's been a year already.
Tio Corp was
Almost
that was
a
the
year.
first project.
No. So Tio Corp essentially happened end of November. This year
Right.
we did it a bit
So
earlier.
less than a year.
Wow.
We met on
So it's been 11 months.
November. We met in November actually, and I got to know you after I like met him, Pat. So
You met me after my birthday.
exactly. I met you in December, but
I don't know.
got
Did
to
you guys
know
meet
about
before
you.
the show? Because you couldn't.
No.
You were still in the West End. Of the
No.
You mentioned me about Rashi when we were in the airplane. Remember
Yes.
that flight? It was so awkward because the seatings got messed up.
Yes.
Because we booked the same flights, but we booked it at different times.
Yeah. So we're sitting in different spots.
So the entire flight we're just standing
Yeah.
and having drinks.
Yeah. I was hovering over some people. It was
Like
nice.
literally, like we're there as it's like it's a bar lounge. We're just talking and everyone's there just
You
like
know what? Screw it. We're just gonna have a good time. We're on vacation.
Yeah. We're just squeezing in. People need to go by and and then that's where Saga told me, like, hey, you need to meet somebody. Her name is Rashi. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, remember that this and that. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I think this is it. I'm like, dope. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I remember.
And then what a lot of people don't know, after Tio Corp in December, that's when Elevated Grapes was born. You know, when you and I
Yeah.
met.
Shortly thereafter. Yeah.
Yeah. When you and I
Pat has a
figured
story
out-
because he's totally laughing. Look at him.
Look
Look at his face.
What's the story?
For those that are listening, for those that are not seeing the visual on YouTube right now,
just like put it out there.
No,
we're spilling out all our internal beans. So let's
I
do
know.
it.
This is the making of what it's like to be an event planner / stylist / put this all together.
No, I've always told Rashi, and no, actually, this is the first time because when I first met Rashi, I'm like, oh, she's such a great person. She has a good charm, great heart, great charisma. And I remember flying back that day because that day was a weird plane situation for me because I had to book my flight out from where I was.
Yes.
The same day, I had a 14-hour layover, come back to Toronto quick, unpack, repack,
Yeah.
come to Sagar's place, get back on a plane, and we had to get to where we had to get
You're
to.
from Vancouver, so that you've literally been flying for almost like 24 hours.
Right, and I had a layover in like Calgary, which was weird.
I don't know what was happening.
There was like a mini stampede going on.
I was taking a nap the whole time.
I was like,
I was like, I don't know what this guy's doing. As long as he meets me in Havana, we're good.
right? I'm just like, what the hell? I'm like, why did I do this to myself? And I remember I get to Sagar's place. We have to get on the plane because it was a night flight.
Yeah, it was.
I came here. I walk in. I'm like, all right, bro, you ready? And like, I was so undressed. I was wearing like dressy shoes, shorts, and a blazer.
It was incredible. We should post that up as a fashion faux
Oh
pas.
dear God.
And out of nowhere,
Pat usually has really good style, so that was just really difficult to watch.
and then I walk in, and she's like, "Hey, surprise!" I'm like, "Who the hell are you?"
That's also very true. He's like, huh? What? I'm like,
And they're like, "Oh, it's Rashi." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Well, it's like
nice
today
to meet
when Rashi showed up and Pat just came in from downstairs and he walked into the room and she's like, "Who the hell are you?"
you. It's like you're so
Here again? Didn't we do this a year ago?
Anyways, Pat, go on with your story.
The reason why I was laughing because when Rashi stutters her words sometimes, and I've always had this thing because I remember talking to Saga one day. I'm like, "Did you notice that on Rashi?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "She has a hardcore lisp." And I remember saying it to Saga really loud. He's just like,
Okay, so we're totally spilling all our beans. It's all good.
Oh dear God.
and I'm just like, she does. And after, remember, Rashi came back and we're like hearing her talk. Saga and I just started cracking. We just started breaking down laughing.
These are the guys that I spend Thanksgiving with, by the way.
And we
Who I call family.
And we never told her for the longest time.
No, we didn't.
We just kept it. We kept it to ourselves. Every time she would talk, we would just like giggle and just look like we're like just retards.
Thank you, assholes.
I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't there.
So now if you like listen to her speak.
Why would you say that? What's wrong with you?
See, you just heard it.
Okay, so I'm gonna need some help from you, Pat, to edit and the vocals a little bit there because
Yeah.
I think she just broke the limiter on the
We
mic.
just clip.
Yeah, we just
The limiter that's supposed to limit the sounds just limit it out.
yeah, limit it out. No more limiter. The limiter broke down. There it
Oh my
goes.
god. So anyways, moving forward on the show, and that was great because the music kept excelling forward, and right when we got to the breaking point where people are getting anxious, you could feel the room getting anxious, like when is this going to start? That's when we started playing deeper music.
Yeah.
With more move, more groove, more just more hype to it now to keep them involved. And then as soon as Sagar said it's good to go,
Did you just pick your nose?
no, I just did this.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like,
That's fine. That's since we're calling each other out. Why not?
and then after when the show started, lights got dim, Sagar was there. He came up to me. He's like, yo, you know what? I'm going to perform from this side because it makes sense because they're facing this way. I'm like, yo, you got this, baby. Go own it. Boom, done. Music down.
You did make me feel special when you said baby.
I had to.
Okay.
Let's just focus, guys.
And then
Focus.
I remember he came in. You just felt the magic. And I knew he had surveyed the room already, got his notes down, and just wrapped it all together, and boom, you just see it come to floor. It just flourished. And he had worked the crowd. He talked about other people's fashion. This is something you pinpointed on a fashion show itself,
Yeah.
about people come to a fashion show dressed up as one. That's something you did really magically well because you not only highlighted a show, you highlighted the people there that were dressed so well. You highlighted shows, you highlighted somebody's blazer, you highlighted these things that make people feel amazing with themselves because these are individual characters that make the fashion world what it is.
Yeah. So for me, like that, having people feel a part of the event is what's important because inclusion is everything. If you feel like you're part of the event, you don't feel like you're separated from it. You don't feel like things are happening around you. You feel like you're happening with it. So what I did was as soon as I walked in, I did my introduction, and then I got a couple of people to stand up, and I said, hey, like I love your style. You're wearing, you know, the black and white combo. It's simple black and white, but what you did with it is really cool. Got this girl to stand up. So the gentleman, he just had really cool kicks. Oh, it was basic, but the kick stood out. And this other guy with the, I remember too, he had the blue double-breasted blazer, but just the way it fit him, and he had like the ascot with it, and just the way he put it together just looked really good, pinpointed him out. And it got the crowd really engaged. They were very into it, you know, they were cheering each other. And then I introduced the first designer, and kind of so the cheering for each other flowed into the cheering for the designer, and then the night just built, like the fashion show portion just built from there.
So, I mean, I know we're like heading towards almost ending our podcast, but I do want to point out that I think this is one of the reasons that Sadr, it does make you a very good host, is even without me having to say, you know, after, like, okay, like, can you handle upstairs and just make sure like they're comfortable, you kind of just like you pick up on a situation, and you make sure everybody is part of the event. And I think for any event planner, that's like godsend, right? Because okay, so what a lot of people don't realize, that in our heads there are a million things racing
100%.
at the moment, and it's not just are people seated, are entrance going well. Depending on the scope of the event, literally every single thing you can think of, and when I'm talking every single thing, we're talking about wheelchair accessible. We're talking about, is someone who's a lot older, is she comfortable or he comfortable at the event? Is the music too loud? Is the music too soft? Are like does the venue have like enough, you know, host or hostess, bartenders, what's going downstairs?
Yeah.
Like, you tell me a situation and I'll tell you, yes, we have thought of it, right?
Yeah.
So as any event planner out there, those who are listening, I'm pretty sure that there's a zillion things that rushes through our mind. So when anybody who we have, you know, contracted out, or who's part of our team or whatever, who are just like, okay, go Rashi or go so and so, do your thing, we got this, and you guys actually got this, the value is tenfold times than what we normally would like even give, right? Because this is what people don't realize. We're not looking for people who know their job. We're looking for people who bring value to us at the end of the day. So for me, that night, knowing that, Pat's behind the DJ booth and like everybody's enjoying having the time, you're hosting, you're taking care of everybody who's attended, and even after the fact, right? Like even when Pat had to leave and you took over in terms of music, we've had emails coming back to us and people were like saying what they loved. A lot of it was the music, the host, the DJ, right? And for any event planner who brings on a team, that's like music to their ears, because we spend so much time and energy bringing people in, hoping they kind of reach our expectations as well. But also we promote you guys, right? We talk about you guys. There's a reason why people, especially in our fashion sphere, know Freshly Guys. There's a reason why people know you, as a host outside of Elevated Grapes. Why would they know that?
Right.
So this is, and that's why I always say it's always a two-way street. So if anybody who's listening and anyone who's an event planner who thinks that, by bringing so and so people we're doing them a favor, actually no. If these people are delivering what you have as your expectations, then it's a two-way street. So
but it is still a team effort. It
100%.
goes from all of us. So let's talk about that. So that we're about to start the show. All the designers are now ready. Everything's in place. You got your models set, and you have your shifts on models, and you have your sequences set in terms of who's going to come out when and all that kind of good stuff. Now the show's about to start. As a planner, what's going through your head at this point?
I'm hoping that my host does not mess up the script that I sent him.
It's a terribly written script.
Okay, whatever. That was what I was doing at that time.
Go on.
It wasn't points. And we will get back to what, as a host, you expect that event planners should give you. Also, at that point in my head, it's more like, I hope the music know what they're doing. I hope my models know what they're doing. And I hope I'm not letting down the crowd and the designers.
Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you excited?
All of the above. Like, if I could throw up in a bucket at that moment, that's exactly how I felt every single time. Like the minute the first designer went through, in my stomach, I actually almost threw up. Like I wanted to run to the washroom, and I actually had to put my hand on my mouth and
so that was that smell.
Shut up. And not throw up. So I was just like, I am going to feel sick right now. Like this is very nerve-wracking, because see, as an event planner, you walk up, you see 200 people sitting and standing, you see a DJ, you see someone holding the mic, you see photographers ready. Dude, 200 people to present a second-year fashion show?
It didn't seem like 200 people there, though.
But we were.
It's 200.
It was 200.
I think where I was positioned, because I saw the entire room from a lengthwise point of view.
Yeah. So what you were watching was one side of the room, because that's where the one side of the seating was. There was seating beside you and behind you.
Yeah.
And then on the other side behind you, there was a whole, a standing gallery of people. Behind the photographers and the media.
And see, I knew that because, again, I stole the tickets. So I knew at the end of the day.
So Pat, same question to you. Show's about to start. You're on the spot, because now Pat, and this show, something that he did really different than some of the other shows that we've done, is he had some of the presets, but he produced the music live based on what was happening on the runway. So if he saw that there's a group of people coming out, he changed the structure of the music. If he saw that there was one person with a really funky outfit, he changed the structure of the music. So he was doing that all live. So show's about to start. You're on the spot because you got to produce this live. There's nothing preset. You can't, you have to be on point as the show is happening. Because it's not like the song is just going to play and you can just stand back and watch it happen.
I think
what's going on in your mind?
The first thing that hits you is memorization.
Patrick, what is two morons melting to each other? What time are we at? How much time are we at?
We're at 49 minutes.
Okay, we got a little bit of time.
So the first thing was memorization of all the music that you have set out, because I had 15 presets that I made.
Yeah.
And out of the 15, I had to choose 5.
Right. And you got to remember how they're laid out on your board.
Yeah. And
So, Pat, so just from a technical standpoint, for those that do understand, what equipment were you using?
it's called the Machine Mark III.
Yeah.
I've been using this device since it came out about 10 years ago now.
It's a production hardware device.
Correct. And you could perform it live. They have built-on effects boards now. They have built-in, just everything, like audio driver, everything. So everything's going straight out, right? And that's all I needed. Because I could control a filter via touch. I could control audio because the mixer's on board. I could control sequences, patterns, this, that, everything.
You want to cut some high, the low end. You can do all that.
This is like beyond my scope.
So like to dumb it down, not dumb it down, to put it in actual terms, like what I did to make it comfortable for me, so I know that I'm ready, is before the show started, I got a piece of paper and I got the layout.
Right.
And what I did was read through all the designers again, and I'm like, okay, I know who all the designers are this time because I did my Insta creeping.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let me just get the feel of the room because everything's gonna sound different. The vibe's different. The day's different. The temperature outside is different. Everything can change.
Everything affects.
So I went through all of them one by one, and I put numbers next to all of
I
them.
remember because I wanted to do a mic check, and you're like, "Shut up, get out of my way."
And
Imagine that.
And then I pieced all the numbers together, so I knew, and I played around a little bit. I'm like, okay, boom, done, perfect. I'm set. I'm ready. The part that was nerve wracking. It's kind of technical, but changing from one scene and then locking that one scene where I could do an effects and then mute a few things and then going back to what I had originally to add like an effect to it.
So adding elements to what you've already done.
And then when you come out of the lock, it goes back to the original drop.
Right.
So that was kind of difficult, but
because you're doing it live, there's no room for error.
Right. So the part that I had fun was, I'm like, you know what, just wing it. Like, you know what you're doing. It's just kind of like go with the flow. And the fun part was where the music's going, you're feeling like the great thing about doing this was you felt the runway, you felt the characters in the model, you felt the clothing, you felt the energy, you felt what people were thinking. You saw everybody like, you know, just like, ooh, and just kind of like being one with the show and so focused, everybody, because they loved it. And you were just touching the pads and you're like, everything I touch now can make or break this event.
100%.
And you're touching everything so elegantly and just like, ooh, filter sweep here. Oh, you see that?
Well, the cool thing is that if something is not working, you can change it on the fly.
Yeah.
And that's what was amazing about it.
And that's what just keep them catched, like hooked. Instead of like just pressing play and walking away. Exactly.
So the interesting thing that I don't think Rashi even knows this, and when we were prepping while you were downstairs working and getting the models and all that kind of stuff ready, Pat was playing around with the sounds, like he was saying. He was just, you know, going through the vibe and the, you know, what sections he's going to use for the different designers. And one of the models had come up and he was just coming in at the time, and he's like, you could tell he was just kind of feeling, he's nodding his head, but he's talking to one of the staff members. Walks over to us and he's like, "Hey, is this the music that you're going to be using for the fashion show?" And Pat's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I love this, like this 80s funk house vibe." And he's like, "I love this kind of music." And he got super excited. And now he's like, "I'm gonna have so much more fun walking the runway."
And he owned it.
Like, he loved it, man.
And I loved it because I got to see every single model walking, and I gave each and every single one an element of something.
Yeah.
Just to give them their moment, their grace, you know, that grace period where this is you, own it, you know, walk with menace, you know, and they just did a phenomenal job. And like, I was just blown away at the fact how incredible everything came out and sounded. And the hard part about doing this, when you're behind the scenes and working the event, you have a different experience. You're not there because you're more of the guy controlling and seeing everything. You don't know how it comes out. Hold that. You know?
We're going to take a quick break because we're going to give all our closing thoughts. We're going to take a quick break for a quick message and come back with our closing thoughts to end off the show. So, anyways, welcome back to Pat's show.
Yeah, so now it's Pat's show, not
All right, so yeah, let's give it a couple of closing thoughts. Keep it brief. How much time do we have on there?
Not much.
What time does it say?
5 seconds we have left.
No, we don't. We have 53 minutes.
5
We're at
seconds we
53
have
minutes.
left.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes total. So roughly about 30 seconds each. Pat, you're gonna start first.
I just want to say the show went successful. We did something very different. Big shout out to all the designers. Big shout out to the team that we have. Big shout out to Navi for getting incredible footage as always, man.
Yeah.
Incredible footage.
For those that are listening on the show, we definitely encourage you to
Very
go to
incredible footage.
for both. There's a separate, and she did too. There's separate footage for Fleshy Dice. There's separate footage for Elevated
Elevated
Grapes.
Grapes.
So check it out, man.
There's a lot of footage. Navi takes a lot of footage.
Yeah. Okay, so go on. Closing thoughts.
That's your closing thoughts?
No, I could go on forever, right? But I just want to say it was a great event. I can't wait till the third one. Am I allowed to say that yet?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yeah, the third one's happening.
There's
There's a third one happening. Rashi.
I think for honestly any event planner to kind of get such amazing feedback from her team, or to know that people go up to her team and besides hitting on them, kind of asking who they are and what they do, and
Pat, people were hitting on you.
Yep.
Okay.
there you go. And people asked me about you as well, Sauter, if you were single or not. So and I freely gave out your number.
I haven't got one call yet, so I guess not.
Well, that's not my problem. My job is to diff the phone number out. But on a serious note too, it's very rare to find a team that kind of understands your vision and where you're going with stuff, and kind of also keep up with you when you get into your creative mode. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm very happy. And yes, there is a next show happening, so
I think we're all excited about that.
Sauter, your turn.
So my final thoughts. Thought number one, which is not to do with the show, Rashi is gonna watch this video afterwards again, see that Pat's been laughing the whole time, even though she's facing this way, so she couldn't see it. So
I'm not surprised.
I had the hardest time keeping a straight face.
No, because
I didn't want to ruin it.
I looked at Rashi's side face. I'm like, oh, she shaves her sideburns. I look.
What?
I was like, oh, that's cool. Because most girls keep it, right? I was like, oh, she shaves that. I like details.
Oh my gosh!
I'm a sucker for details.
Let's move on.
Details are
I
awesome.
think, you know what? My thoughts don't even matter after that. So for those that are listening and not watching on YouTube, go to our YouTube channel. It's YouTube at Elevated Grapes.
Do not
Search
go
us.
and watch this podcast. That's all I will definitely tell you.
And you can see the visuals for Rashi's non-existent.
Final and closing thoughts. Never have Pat as your guest on any show.
We're gonna have him here every week.
Oh dear God.
Awesome. So thank you for tuning in once again. If you want to find out more about us, just like Rashi says, Google Elevated Grapes. We pop up everywhere.
I did not say that, especially in this episode. Not,
Well, you said it in the
not
past.
whatsoever.
Google
In the
Elevated
past.
Grapes. You'll find everything about us. Check us out everywhere. And thank you for tuning in. Now to Rashi's sideburns. Bye. Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.